David Hume, a Scottish philosopher, was a towering figure of the 18th century Enlightenment. Born in Edinburgh in 1711, Hume's intellect and writings left an indelible mark on Western thought. He challenged traditional views on religion, morality and knowledge. His skepticism and empiricism, emphasizing experience as the foundation of knowledge, deeply influenced subsequent philosophers. Hume's most famous work, An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding, published in 1748, contains his influential arguments against miracles. These arguments, rooted in his empirical philosophy, have sparked centuries of debate. Hume did not set out to specifically disprove Christian miracles. Rather, he aimed to demonstrate the improbability of miracles in general. Hume's arguments against miracles are important to understand because they represent a significant challenge to religious belief. His ideas continue to resonate with skeptics and believers alike. By grappling with Hume's arguments, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the ongoing dialogue between faith and reason. Hume's legacy extends far beyond his specific arguments. He remains a key figure in the history of philosophy, forcing us to confront fundamental questions about the nature of belief, evidence, and the limits of human understanding. His work continues to challenge and inspire thinkers today. Hume's argument against miracles is two-pronged, using both a priori and a posteriori reasoning. A priori arguments are based on reason and logic, while a posteriori arguments rely on experience and evidence. Hume defines a miracle as a violation of the laws of nature. He argues that miracles are extraordinarily improbable, and testimony is often flawed. The debate over miracles continues with no easy answers. Hume's skepticism towards miracles, especially the resurrection of Jesus, stemmed from his commitment to empiricism. He believed our knowledge comes from sensory experience, making such events inherently suspect. Hume argued that the testimony supporting miracles was unreliable and prone to embellishment. Christian apologists countered with historical evidence and the transformative impact of the resurrection. Modern scholars have presented various counter-arguments to Hume's skepticism towards miracles, particularly the resurrection of Jesus. These arguments engage with Hume's philosophical framework while offering alternative perspectives on evidence, testimony, and the nature of historical inquiry. William Lane Craig, a prominent philosopher of religion, challenges Hume's a priori argument by questioning the rigidity of natural laws. Craig argues that natural laws, as we understand them, are descriptive rather than prescriptive. They summarize our observations of the natural world but do not dictate what must happen. Michael Licona, a New Testament historian, addresses Hume's concerns about the reliability of testimony. Licona argues that historians routinely accept testimony about past events, even extraordinary ones, based on criteria like the consistency of the accounts, the lack of clear motives for fabrication, and the presence of corroborating evidence. Richard Swinburne, a philosopher of science, defends the coherence of miracles with a scientific worldview. Swinburne argues that the existence of God as a personal agent capable of acting in the world provides a plausible explanation for events that seem to transcend the normal course of nature. These scholars, while approaching the issue from different perspectives, all agree that Hume's arguments, while thought-provoking, do not definitively rule out the possibility of miracles. They argue that the evidence for specific miracles, such as the resurrection, should be assessed on its own merits without dismissing it out of hand based on philosophical presuppositions. Section 5. John Ehrman, a skeptic's perspective. John Ehrman, a contemporary philosopher of science, offers a more skeptical perspective on miracles, even while acknowledging some weaknesses in Hume's arguments. Ehrman contends that Hume's a priori argument, based on the inviolability of natural laws, is too rigid. He suggests that a more nuanced understanding of scientific laws allows for the possibility of rare exceptions. However, Ehrman maintains that Hume's a posteriori argument, focusing on the reliability of testimony, remains a significant hurdle for belief in miracles. He argues that the extraordinary nature of miracles demands extraordinary evidence. The testimony typically offered, according to Hume, falls short of this standard. Hume also critiques attempts to ground the possibility of miracles in the existence of God. He argues that even if we grant the existence of a deity, it remains unclear why such a being would intervene in the world in a way that violates its established order. The problem of divine hiddenness, according to Hume, further complicates this appeal. While acknowledging the sincerity and intellectual rigor of those who defend miracles, Hume concludes that the evidence remains insufficient to warrant belief. He maintains that a skeptical stance, while perhaps less comforting, is ultimately the more intellectually honest position. Section 6. The Resurrection, Weighing the Evidence. The debate over the resurrection of Jesus hinges on the assessment of historical evidence and the interpretation of that evidence. Defenders of the resurrection point to several key facts as strong evidence for the event. First, the empty tomb is a widely acknowledged fact by both skeptics and scholars who accept the resurrection. The earliest Jewish and Roman sources offer no alternative explanations for the empty tomb, suggesting that even Jesus' opponents acknowledged it. Second, the appearances of Jesus after his death are multiply attested in the New Testament and early Christian tradition. While the exact nature of these appearances is debated, the fact that they are reported by multiple sources, including skeptics like James, the brother of Jesus, lends credence to the claim. Third, the rapid rise of Christianity in the face of persecution is difficult to explain without the resurrection. The early Christians, many of whom had personally known Jesus, were willing to face imprisonment and death for their belief in his resurrection. This suggests they were convinced by compelling evidence. Critics of the resurrection offer alternative explanations for these facts, such as the swoon theory, the wrong tomb theory, or the hallucination hypothesis. However, these alternative explanations often face their own historical and logical difficulties. Section 7. The implications of miracles for our lives. The question of whether miracles are possible has profound implications for our understanding of the world and our place in it. If miracles are possible, then the universe is not a closed system governed solely by impersonal laws. It suggests the existence of a reality beyond the natural world, a realm where the impossible can become possible. The belief in miracles, particularly the resurrection of Jesus, offers hope in the face of suffering and death. It suggests that death is not the end and that love and justice ultimately triumph. This hope has sustained countless individuals throughout history and continues to inspire acts of compassion and selflessness. Moreover, if miracles are possible, it challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about what is possible in our own lives. It invites us to believe in the possibility of transformation, healing, and new beginnings, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles. However, the belief in miracles also comes with responsibilities. It calls us to live lives of integrity, compassion, and service, reflecting the character of the God who is believed to intervene in human history. It also requires humility, recognizing that our understanding of the world is limited and that mystery remains an essential part of the human experience. Section 8. Conclusion, a matter of reason and faith. The debate over miracles, particularly the resurrection of Jesus, is ultimately a matter of both reason and faith. While historical evidence and philosophical arguments can shed light on the possibility and plausibility of miracles, a leap of faith is ultimately required to embrace them fully. Hume's arguments, while challenging, do not definitively disprove the possibility of miracles. Modern scholars have offered compelling counter-arguments, suggesting that belief in miracles is not inherently irrational or incompatible with a scientific worldview. The evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, while open to interpretation, remains compelling for many. The empty tomb, the post-resurrection appearances, and the rapid rise of Christianity all point to an event that defied explanation within the confines of a purely naturalistic worldview. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to believe in miracles rests with each individual. It is a decision that should be made after careful consideration of the evidence, thoughtful engagement with the arguments, and a willingness to grapple with the profound implications of both belief and disbelief.